At 6, facts, not fear. A man in Washington state has died of the coronavirus, and this makes the first reported death from the infection in the United States. Good evening, I'm Jeff Ballin. Here's the latest headlines on the coronavirus outbreak. Washington State Governor Jay Inslee has declared a state of emergency, and President Donald Trump announced this afternoon the U.S. is banning travel to Iran in response to the outbreak of the new coronavirus, and it's elevating travel warnings to regions of Italy and South Korea. Also new tonight, several health centers in Florida, including here in Jacksonville, are now able to test people for the coronavirus. On your sides, Kaylee Tracy joins us live from the health department in Jacksonville with more about that. Kaylee.
Yeah, Jeff, all three Florida Department of Health labs, including the one here in downtown in Jacksonville, will now be able to test for the coronavirus. That's according to a spokesperson with the governor's office today. The other two labs are in Miami and Tampa, and they tell us, state officials, that they'll be able to get results between 24 to 48 hours. That drastically decreases the wait time to get those results. Important to note, though, there are no confirmed cases of the coronavirus that we know of in Florida or Georgia. There are 22 confirmed cases across the United States. That's according to the CDC. Friday, the Florida's Surgeon General said 15 people across the state have been tested and 4 are being watched for possible coronavirus infection. Governor Ron DeSantis spoke with Vice President Mike Pence, who's in charge of President Donald Trump's administration's response Friday. The governor asked the vice president for local testing kits, more medical supplies, and federal supplementation for those that may be in isolation for a while. And health officials say older people and adults with poor health are those at the highest risk. President Trump echoed that today.
Additional cases in the United States are likely, but healthy individuals should be able to fully recover.
We asked Governor Ron DeSantis' office and officials at the Florida Department of Health about how many testing kits the state has received, how many people have been tested so far, and what exactly testing will look like here in Florida. We are waiting to hear back, and as soon as we do hear back, we'll be sure to let you know on air and online. For now, reporting downtown, Kaylee Tracy, First Coast News, on your side.
Thank you, Kaylee. And this story, of course, is evolving minute by minute. We will continue to bring you the latest as we learn more. To see an interactive map tracking where the coronavirus has been confirmed, you can do so using your phone. Just text the word MAP to 904-633-8808. That is the word MAP to 904-633-8808.